So just to be aware, I'm recording it. So please keep your microphones on mute. That way we can get through it quickly. There will be time for questions at the end. And you can also use the chat box as needed. So welcome everyone to our OPT workshop. This presentation is mostly for currently enrolled F1 students. So I know the link kind of got blasted out to everyone, but if you're IAP, EPI, or an exchange student, this presentation does not really apply to you. You can certainly learn something from it, so it's fine to stay if you want. But keep in mind, you have different advisors, procedures, and it's not really fair for our office to advise you until you are a currently enrolled F1 student at USC. So today's workshop is going to cover optional practical training, which throughout the presentation I will refer to as OPT. That's just an abbreviation. It means the same thing. Optional practical training. All right, so OPT, if I had to sum it up in one word, is work after graduation. So the F1 visa allows you to come here to study. OPT is a benefit of that visa, and it allows you to work after you graduate. The work I put a star by because it has to be related to your degree. So it's not just any job. And I just want to point out that the O part is optional, which we'll talk about in a minute, but you don't have to use this. This is optional that the government gives you. It is not required that you get a job. You're welcome to leave the US after you graduate and go work somewhere else. Throughout the PowerPoint, I will have QR codes. So if you scan that QR code, it will take you to a PDF of the PowerPoint. I've been making updates here and there, so it might be an older version, but it should have all of the same information. And again, you can use it to follow along and write down any questions you have while I am presenting. Really quick, before we move on, if you look in the top left, you can see our website, sc.edu/ISS. Let me show you that website just so we can kind of all be on the same page. All right, so it's very easy to navigate to our website if you just type sc.edu/ISS. And I want to show this to you because I'm going to go over a ton of information today. And it can feel overwhelming and it can feel a little bit confusing, and I totally get that. So I want you to know before we even start that we have this resource for you to use. So if you do feel overwhelmed, you can always come back here and read it. So this is our ISS website. It is your one-stop shop for everything you could need. It can be a little tricky to navigate, and we're updating it and adding things. So we've done our best to make it user-friendly. You can get to the OPT section really easily over here where it says hot topics. So I'm just going to copy this link into the chat anyway. I always recommend that students bookmark these links, have them saved in your favorites on your web browser so you can always go back and navigate to them. So this is going to be the web page that talks about OPT. It's got clips of the videos. I will add this recording to it as well. And it has all of the application steps. It's got the link to the OPT presentation, so you can click on it. If you click these plus signs, it gives you details about how to apply for each step. It's got the videos so you can go back and reference, links to study in the States, USCIS. It's got this helpful little infographic about the application timeline. I've added some due dates so you can have an idea of dates, as well as this whole section of frequently asked questions. So this is a super valuable resource for you that we've spent a lot of time investing in. So make sure that you save this, go back and use it, because it can be really helpful, especially if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed. You know that you have this as a resource always if an advisor is not immediately available. All right. All right, so let's start by talking about what OPT is and is not. Um, like I mentioned, OPT is a work benefit of the F1 student visa. It's authorized by our office and USCIS, but mostly through USCIS. The ISS part in the OPT is very small. But I want to clarify that it's part of your student visa. So you are still in student status. You still need to be following student rules, and it is a benefit. It's not a right. Not everyone is going to get a job. Not everyone is going to get approved. It is simply a benefit that you can take advantage of. It is off-campus work for a limited amount of time. So it is only for 12 months. There is an extension, which we'll talk about later, but this is not a work authorization for the rest of your life. It is limited. The idea is to give you some work experience so then you can either go back to your home country and use the work experience or go work anywhere else in the world and use this work experience. Like I said, it's authorized by USCIS. So that's the federal government does most of the authorization, and the job has to be related to your major. So it's not just work and you can work anywhere, the job has to be related. So keeping this in mind, OPT is not a work visa for monetary gain and for future employment. You're not getting a new visa when you apply. This is part of your F1 visa, and it's supposed to be more education related. Of course, we know you're going to earn money, and we know that that's an important aspect in this, but we should keep in our forethoughts that I'm getting this job, I'm using this authorization to gain experience, not necessarily to gain money. And it should not be used while you are enrolled. If you are currently enrolled, then you need to use CPT for off-campus employment, which we already had a workshop about, but you can find that workshop on our website, as well as the videos and PowerPoints similar to OPT. We take all of our OPT regulations straight from the federal regulations. So I'm not going to read the federal regulations, but these regulations are how we shape our ISSS policy. So you can see that you have to be enrolled for 1 year. It's temporary. It must be related to your study, and you do it after the completion of your studies. And we'll go over all these rules in detail, but this is just so you can see that these are rules directly from the federal government. All right, there are 2 types of OPT. There is what's called pre-completion OPT and post-completion. Pre-completion is work authorization that you can use before graduation. We only approve this for students that are in their dissertation phase, and it's very uncommon. We don't often recommend this one to students because there's some cons with it. One of which being you will have to apply again if you're applying for post-completion. It still takes 3 months to approve, so it's not instant work authorization. Post-completion is the most common type of OPT and is the one that the majority of students use. So even though it is work after you graduate, you can still use it, you can still apply for it before the term ends. Regardless of which type of OPT applies to your situation, you have to have been enrolled for 1 year prior to the start. So you can't just take a semester and then get OPT. You have to have a full academic year, 9 months of study. You do not have to have a job offer to apply for OPT. The OPT is just an authorization period. It's not employment. So you can apply without a job offer. That's totally okay. For both types, you are only allowed 90 days of unemployment. And we'll talk more about that throughout the rest of the presentation. But basically what this means is if you can't find a job within 90 days of your OPT starting, then you have to leave the country. Both types can still apply for the STEM extension if it's applicable. You can get OPT for each higher degree. So you can get OPT for your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, and then your PhD. And if at any time you accrue 1 year of full-time CPT, you're ineligible for either type of OPT. All right. If you don't know which one you would qualify for, I recommend meeting with an advisor. However, even without looking at anyone's record, I can almost guarantee most of you are going to apply for and qualify for post-completion OPT. It's also the best way to take advantage of your time in the United States. All right. We only recommend applying for pre-completion if you have a job offer. And like I said, you have to be in the dissertation phase, which is also known as Z status. So just to reiterate, pre-completion is very rare. And we can actually shorten your I-20, like if you're going to graduate early or you're going to do your dissertation early, it's much better for us to just shorten your I-20 and then allow you to do post-completion versus trying to mess with pre-completion. So always talk to an advisor. All right, here is a timeline of the application. If you have your I-20 in front of you right now or can go look at it, you should see an end date on your I-20. This is usually the graduation date of each semester. So for this current semester, graduation is May 4th. If you are graduating this year, the end date on your I-20, or this semester, I should say, if you're graduating this semester, the end date on your I-20 is May 4th, 2024. You can start applying for OPT 90 days before that. So right now, everyone that's graduating in May, you're good to apply. You could have started applying February 4th, actually. The last day you can apply is 60 days after that end date. So in this case, July 3rd is the last day anyone with a May 2024 graduation can apply. When you apply, you choose a start date for your OPT. That start date must be within those 60 days after your end date. And I'll go through that in just a minute. So hang tight. So just some vocabulary clarification before I explain it a little bit more. The end date, I'm going to use this word a lot. Your I-20 end date is the last day on page 1 of your I-20. It's also considered your program end date. The start date is the day you want your OPT 12-month authorization to begin. It is not the day that your job actually starts. Some of you could have job offers right now. That's not a start date. When I'm talking about start date during this presentation, I mean when your OPT period starts. So that OPT start and end date will be listed on page 2 of your I-20 under work authorization. And you'll be able to see a 12-month period. And I'll show you that later in the presentation. So your OPT start date cannot start before you graduate because it has to start basically after that date on page 1. And it has to start before your grace period is over because you need to have active status. So that's why it has to start between those 60 days. I have these dates as well for a summer graduate. So I assume since it's April, maybe some of you are graduating this summer. So just another example of how to look at this. If you are graduating this summer, The end date on your I-20 should be August 15th. And 90 days before August 15th is May 17th. So the earliest you could start applying is May 17th. We won't even accept it before that, because if you apply too early, USCIS will deny it. And then the last day, if you have a summer graduation, you could apply is October 14th. And then you choose a start date within those 60 days. So let me break it down a little bit. I'm going to go back to the May graduation dates. But if you're graduating in the summer, you can just input those other dates for your situation. All right, so anyone who's graduating May 4th can apply for OPT from February 4th to July 3rd. So they have this very long window that they can apply. Of course, we recommend applying earlier rather than later, but we know sometimes students are waiting on acceptance to a PhD program or kind of waiting to see if they get a job, things like that. I would say April is still a good time to apply. You know, you can apply in May and June, it's fine, but you don't want to wait until the last minute, the very last day. That could cause some issues. Either way, when someone is applying for OPT, so if they graduate May 4th, they can choose a start date from May 5th to July 3rd. So you can see why applying is beneficial, because if you apply on July 3rd and you have to choose July 3rd as your start date, they can't approve it in 24 hours. That actually takes them about 3 months to approve it. So you're going to lose OPT time because you'll get unemployment because you can't start working until you get your EAD card. So you can see it's important to apply in a timely manner. A lot of students always ask, what should I choose as my start date? The ISS office cannot tell you what date to choose. We just always recommend the range of dates. We say you can choose a date between May 5th and July 3rd. And think about your life situation. I don't know your life. You know, when is your apartment lease up? When do you have a lot of job prospects? Do you have enough funding to be without employment for a month? So you kind of need to think about your own personal situation when choosing a start date. Just some other things to consider is, will you graduate on time? If you think that your graduation is going to be delayed, don't apply for OPT. We can always extend your I-20 for an extra semester if you need to take some more classes. That's fine. You may want to meet with the Career Center. So if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to the Career Center's website, and we'll watch some video from them as well. I always get questions like, can you help me find a job? Unfortunately, no. My expertise are in immigration, and I do not have the knowledge to help you find a job, but the university provides the Career Center, which is an amazing resource to find a job. And they may be able to help you look in certain cities that are hiring, get you to think outside the box a little bit more. Once you write a start date down, it is not flexible. So be very careful as you are completing the application. It cannot be changed after you submit it. And please be aware that paperwork takes 3 months to process. Our office, it only takes a couple of days to get you the OPT I-20, maybe a week. But USCIS is the main authority approving OPT, and it takes them anywhere from 3 to 4 months. So just be aware as you're applying that you may have to wait on USCIS. And just make sure you are adjusting your expectation versus reality. The reality is it could take 4 months to prove. The reality is it could take you 2 months to find a job. So yes, everyone expects to get an amazing job offer right away. It doesn't work like that. Not even for me as an American. It's going to be some hard work, and that's okay. But just make sure that you are adjusting your expectations and finding jobs that are suitable. So again, that's why I recommend the Career Center. They can really help you think about your career and what kind of jobs will help you reach your career goals. All right, so here are some videos from the Career Center just so you can have a look at how they can help. And because OPT is job related, so I thought I would share these with you.
The Career Center
Oops, sorry.
is the best kept secret at the University of South Carolina. We offer students the opportunity to figure everything from, I don't know what I can do with this major, to I'm not sure who I am. And I'm trying to figure out how my experiences, how my life, how my personality intersects with the world of work. You don't know how to write a resume, come in, we'll help you do it. You don't know how to interview for a job, come in, we'll work you through the process. You need to figure out how to research for an internship opportunity, we're part of that process as well. And it also just isn't for those students looking for employment when they graduate. It's for those students who want to go on to pre-professional opportunities like med school, grad school, or law school. That's what the Career Center is about. It's about helping students live their dreams. And we want to walk you through that process.
So that's kind of one video about the Career Center and what they do.
The Career Center is
The next video shows kind of how they can help you utilize your degree to the best of your abilities.
What we try to do as an office is to make sure that we help students in their journey towards their career goals. So one of the things I'm really excited about is a new tool that we're bringing online in the fall of 23, which is what we're calling Gamecock Grad Stats. I can now go in and really see what are all the possibilities of my discipline? What are all the possibilities of where I could go with a major? Because I think we have a tendency to think if I'm an English major, then I'm gonna have to teach English. There are so many possibilities of what you can do with your English degree.
My overall impression of GradStat so far is very resourceful and probably the best tool for an undergraduate student to use, especially when it comes to making decisions post-grad. GradStats provides that data from alumni to say, hey, what did people before me actually do, and are they successful?
Based off of the qualities that I have, strengths, certifications, I entered it into grad stats and it pushed out based on my major and those qualities, what companies are hiring and where I would be best fit.
It's not a mystery anymore. What can I do with this major? And that's where I would say using this platform in partnership with our Career Center coaches and our team becomes critically important.
So I'm really appreciative of the Career Center for helping me with my current internship that I just signed on for the summer. And the Career Center has helped me like form and tailor my resume specifically for government work.
A bit of advice that I would give students as they begin their journey here at the University of South Carolina is that they should explore every avenue that they can. Engage grad stats early, engage it often, and then throughout their entire time here at the university.
Okay, so yeah, I really recommend the Career Center. I know that OPT can be overwhelming and applying for a job can be overwhelming. So take advantage of that resource to help you on your journey. All right, I'm gonna take a 2-minute break. So just so people can use the bathroom because this is kind of a long presentation. This is your opportunity. Go to the Career Center website. We also recommend students use InnerStride. Look for jobs. You can start thinking about that. So let's start at 11:30. We'll take a 3-minute break. At 11:30, I will start again. Feel free to take a break. If you want to type something in the chat box, you can, just to make sure you are learning. All right, 3-minute break. Go ahead.
Hello, Katie. This is just anecdotal. I applied for OPT and I got my OPT like within 1.5 months.
Okay, great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's great. I love hearing that, but we have to tell students the reality is that it could take 3 months. So
Yeah, that's true.
it is good to hear that you got it in a month, but I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, especially as we
Yeah,
get closer to H-1B season and summer and you know, it's election year and there's so many other things going on with the government. Which is that's great, but stay grounded in reality. There's also premium processing, which we'll talk about later if you really want it to go faster.
yeah.
But that is good
Yeah,
to
so I
to
yeah,
hear.
I said 1.5 months, and maybe it's because I applied online. I don't know if it helps to speed up the process.
No, it makes no difference.
Okay.
But that's good to know. But don't get your hopes up, everybody. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna get back to the presentation. I will answer more questions at the end. Because realistically, I might answer most of your questions while I am presenting. All right. So here are the application steps. I'm going to go through each step in detail, but I want you to keep in mind that a lot of the responsibility of OPT falls on you. So and the government, USCIS. So they are the ones approving this form, and this form is your personal information. So make sure that you are taking this opportunity to kind of take some responsibility. Coming to this workshop is a great way to learn. But you know, moving forward, a lot of your immigration compliance is going to be on you. So if you scan that QR code, it will take you to the website where you can find all of the steps, which I've already pretty much shared. All right, so step one kind of ties in with what I was just saying, is make sure you attend a workshop or read about OPT on the website. You want to make sure you have an understanding of it before you jump into applying for it. Especially the fact that like there's a fee, and I think it just increased. It used to be $410, and I think it's $470 now. If that's something you can't afford, maybe you don't want to apply for OPT at all. So make sure you familiarize yourself with the process and how it works. Make sure you meet with an advisor if you have any specific questions about your situation. If there's something that you can't find on the website and you feel like it's urgent, I always recommend using the search bar. We've done a pretty good job of including everything that you could need there. So sometimes it is hard to find. So if you just use the search bar and type ISS, OPT, start date, you should be able to find the information that you need. All right, so before you can apply to our office, you need to pay what is called the OPT CVIS maintenance fee. This is a fee that goes to our office. It's currently $100, and this allows us to support you while you are still on student visa status. So yes, OPT is a lot of your responsibility, and you are on your own in that you don't have any professors or teachers, you're not a student at the university anymore. But we still monitor your CVIS record, and we are still here as advisors to support you if you need any help. So that $100 fee allows us to do that. And we won't process your paperwork without the fee, and then there will be a second fee that goes to USCIS. If you scan that QR code, it should take you to the fee. But again, we have all of these things linked on the application steps on the website. So you're welcome to save the links now, but the links are on our website if you need to go back and find them. All right, so step 3 is to complete the request form for our office. So you need to let us know that you need the OPT I-20. If you're graduating early, you can just complete this form, and then when you submit it, send an email that says, hey, I'm applying for OPT because I'm graduating early. If you scan that QR code, it should take you to the form. Otherwise, you could always find forms like this in the ISSS forms library. Again, that's a site that I would bookmark because you'll need to go back there for the STEM extension or That's where you can find the program extension, or if you're gonna start a new degree or transfer your CVIS record, that forms library is super helpful. If you're applying by mail, you need to fill out the I-765 form on paper, but if you're applying online, you don't need to print that out or do anything by hand. And we recommend always submitting online. It's not necessarily faster approval, but you know, you don't have to wait for the application in the mail. You know, that takes a couple extra days for something to be submitted by mail. And you can track your status if you submit it online. And it's easy. It walks you through it if you do it online. So we always recommend students do it online if possible. Oh. This is what that OPT request form currently looks like. We are in the process of updating our forms, but the two most important items on this form are the OPT start date. So you can see on the left side where I have the box, that's where you want your OPT to start. And we will submit that and put it on your I-20, and then that gets submitted to USCIS. So this is the thing that cannot be changed. You need to sign saying you understand that you're responsible during this time. And then your academic advisor or your PhD advisor will sign that you are graduating this semester. So this is where if you just fill this out and you're graduating early, they can approve and confirm that you're graduating earlier than expected. So then you can apply for OPT. All right. Wait for our approval. It only takes our office about 5 days. We're not as slow as the federal government. And then we will email you an OPT I-20 with approval confirmation. So it'll give you the next steps and things like that. Just be aware that our approval does not mean that USCIS will approve it. Most students get approved. I don't say that to scare you and think that your request will be denied. More just to clarify that what the ISSS office is recommending you for OPT, but USCIS has ultimate approval. Once you receive that OPT I-20 from our office, you have 30 days to apply with USCIS. If you try and apply after those 30 days, your application will be denied. If you, for whatever reason, suddenly fall ill and don't apply within those 30 days, we can get you a new OPT I-20, but you have to use that new one to apply. So just be aware that there is a timeline here and a deadline of sorts. So here is what your I-20 will look like. This is page 2. We will email this back to you. It will say post-completion OPT, full-time, requested, and then it'll have your start and end date. So it'll be 1 year. Once USCIS approves this, you can request a new I-20 that says approved, but you'll have the EAD card, so it's not necessarily necessary. But if you end up doing the STEM extension or need a travel signature or lose your I-20, this will eventually say approved. All right, so you've got the I-20 back from our office. Now you need to get your materials ready to submit the online application. We recommend getting the materials ready first, so that way you have everything ready before you apply. All right, so you don't need to submit that request OPT I-20 form to USCIS. You only need to submit the I-20. So you can start ahead of time by creating an account with uscis.gov. And here are some of the items you need to prepare. You need a passport photo, 2x2 for the EAD card. You can get those on campus at the mail center in the Russell House. You need to scan your passport photo page. And on that note, you need an up-to-date passport. So if your passport is expired, you need to take care of that and get that renewed ASAP. Your passport can expire while you are on OPT, but you do need to make sure that you are updating your passport as well. So scan of the passport page that's up to date. a digital copy of the OPT I-20 that you have signed, so we'll email it to you and then you need to sign it. A most recent I-94 and a credit card. So you need some way to pay the filing fee with USCIS. And if you're mailing it, obviously you do need to print out Form I-765, but again, I would just recommend doing it online. It's so much easier. Once you have all those materials ready, you can submit it to USCIS. Do not submit to USCIS until you have the OPT form from us. If you try and apply for OPT without an OPT I-20, it'll be denied. So submit it online on your own. We have a guide on our website, and I also will show you a tips video in just a moment. But keep in mind, you can't change your start date and carefully double check all your information. The online application, we don't really review that or do that with you. It's your personal information. It looks complicated, but it's actually not. We can check it for completeness, but it's your responsibility to make sure it's true and accurate. And then keep in mind the form is created and approved by USCIS. So they have supreme authority over the form. I don't have authority over the form, which is why we don't walk students through it or do it with them, because it's their form, they have authority. That being said, I do have a tips video that we can watch a little bit of. So here is a video of how to apply online. Hello, and welcome to this informational video. Sorry. On how to fill the I-765 form for OPT and STEM OPT online. The first step is to gather your documents. You must have a government-issued ID. Your I-94 is showing F1 status, a copy of your I-20 with the requested dates, and a passport photo. We recommend that you scan these documents in JPEG or PDF format. However, the passport photo must be in JPEG or PNG format. You will also need a form of payment, like a bank check or credit card. You do not need a scan of your bank check or credit card, but please have the payment information ready to be submitted. For your government-issued ID, please only choose one of the following: a passport, a U.S. visa, or a birth certificate with a photo ID. If you're on OPT and applying for the STEM extension, you can upload your current EAD card. Any one of these options would be an acceptable submission. The I-20 you upload must include your signature and date on page 1 and be the one with your OPT requested dates. Do not upload a copy of your I-20 that does not include your signature or the OPT requested dates. Please remember, you must complete and submit your I-765 form within 30 days of the date on page 1 of your I-20. After the 30-day deadline, you will not be able to apply for your employment authorization document. Once you have gathered all of your documents, you may move on to the next step and create an account with USCIS. To do this, navigate to myaccount.uscis.gov. Click Create an Account. You must add your email address and then confirm it. For the page that asks for account type, select the option, I am an applicant, petitioner, or requester. Once your account is created, select the My USCIS icon under Login to a USCIS service. This option will have the language that says Apply for Immigration Benefits. You will be asked to log in again with the credentials you have just created. The next step is to navigate to the I-765 form through the online filing system. After you are properly logged in, you will be taken to the USCIS main page. Then select file a form online. Next, USCIS will ask you what form you want to file. In the drop-down menu, find the option I-765 Application for Employment. Once selected, click Start Form. Next, an informational page will appear. This will provide details about eligibility documents needed, specific directions in the Department of Homeland Security or DHS privacy notices. You should read this page to ensure that you are prepared to fill out the form. Please note that this form does not need to be filled out all at once. You may save your progress and return later. The system automatically saves your form at each step. There is no save button, but if you click next in each section, your information will automatically save. However, drafts are only saved for 30 days. If for 30 days you do not add anything or make edits, the form will expire. However, every time you do make changes or additions, the deadline will extend. When you feel ready to begin, select Start. Next, you will fill out information regarding your eligibility, your reason for applying, and your preparer information. Under the tab Basis of Eligibility, post-completion. If you are a STEM major and you are about to graduate, do not click STEM extension. You must select post-completion OPT. You must already have been on post-completion OPT to apply for the STEM extension. Apply for the STEM extension after 1 year of post-completion OPT. Under the tab Reason for Applying, indicate if this is your first time applying. If this is a renewal or if it is to replace a lost or damaged EAD card, you must indicate if you have previously filed I-765 form before. For example, if you did pre-completion OPT before, or if you are doing STEM extension application now, you would have already done this form in the past. Under the final tab of this section, preparer or interpreter information, select No. This is only if someone is filling out the form for you. This does not include situations where someone is merely helping you with the form. The next section is dedicated to filling out your personal information. First, you must fill out your legal name as it appears on your government documents. If you have previous legal names, then you must input them here. Then fill out your contact information. Input all your phone numbers, your email addresses, and also add your mailing and physical address. It is important to add an up-to-date address where you will be able to physically receive your EAD card. Next, you will answer personal questions regarding your gender and marital status. Then you must answer questions about your birth date and place. Complete these questions. Once finished, click Next. Next, you will answer questions about your immigration status. This includes details from your most recent I-94 arrival and departure record and your passport. You can find your I-94 information on the Customs and Border Protection website. In this section, you must also add your current immigration status. Select F1 student, academic, or language program in the drop-down menu. Also, input your CVIS number that is the top of your I-20 with your OPT requested start date. Finally, you will include other information. If you have an alien registration number, you must add it here. If you have an EAD card in the past, the A number will be the USCIS number found on the front of that card. Many students applying for post-completion OPT will not have an A number, and you may check the box that says, I do not have or know my A number. You will also need to add your previous USCIS online account number. Please note that if you filed a form before, you will have a USCIS account number. If this is your first time filing a form, then you will not have one. Next, if you already have a social security number from your work on campus or when you did a paid internship, you must add it here. If you do not have a social security number, you must indicate you want to be issued one. Once all of your personal information is added, you are ready to move on to the next step of uploading documents. Under this section, you will upload all the documents you have gathered beforehand. Please remember, all documents besides your passport photo must be uploaded in JPEG or PDF format. First, upload a recent color photograph with the dimensions of 2 inches by 2 inches. This photo must have your whole face visible. If you are concerned about your photo, you may check the requirements and examples on the Study in the States Digital Photo Requirements website. Next, upload a copy of the electronic version of your I-94 arrival and departure record. You can obtain your electronic I-94 by going to the Customs and Border Protection website. There's a link to the website in this section for your convenience. Next, upload your identification card. This may be a previous employment authorization document, passport, or US visa. If you have been issued an EAD card beforehand, upload a copy here. If you have not been issued an EAD card, upload a copy of your visa or passport. For the next section, if you do not have previous CPT or OPT, you may skip it and go to the next page. If you have been authorized for CPT or OPT in the past, you must upload your previous I-20s here, which include the information about your CPT or OPT. For the next section, finally, you must upload the most recent copy of your I-20 that has the OPT requested dates listed on page 2. It must also include your signature and date on page 1. Do not upload a copy of your I-20 that does not include your signature or the OPT requested dates. This will result in your OPT application being delayed or denied. Please remember, you must file your I-765 form within 30 days of the date on page 1 of your I-20. After the 30-day deadline, you will not be able to apply for your employment authorization document. Once all the required evidence has been uploaded, you will have the option to add more information under the Additional Information tab. You can add details by clicking Add a Response. This page also lets you edit and delete responses. Some response examples would be if you had previous CVIS number from an old I-20, you could add that here. Additionally, if you have a passport expiring soon and you are in the process of getting a new one, you can upload a receipt of your new passport here. Have all your information added and your evidence uploaded, you can review this entire form before submitting it. Under this tab, you can review every other section to ensure the information and documents are correct and accurate. Remember, it's your personal information, so it's your responsibility to ensure accuracy. The USCIS system and the ISSS office cannot check this information for you. Under this section, you may also save or print a copy of the filled out I-765 form for your records. One advantage of filling out the I-765 form online is that you may track your application. The USCIS system will automatically check for any incomplete sections. It will alert you to return to the section that needs attention. Once everything is filled out and complete, USCIS will alert you that there are no warnings and you may proceed to finish up the form. For the last steps, you must agree to the applicant statement. Select and check the box and then click Next. Then you must certify the documents and information are accurate by electronically signing the form. Type your full name into the box provided. After signing the form, the next page will serve as a reminder that you must pay the application fee. If you're absolutely certain that all information is correct and accurate, click Pay and Submit. Then you'll be redirected to pay.gov. You will have the option to select your payment method. Remember that you can pay by bank account or by a credit card. If your payment goes through, you will be directed back to USCIS and get the confirmation that the I-765 form was successfully submitted. Invalid payment information will not submit your form. Please make sure that your information is correct so that your form submission will go through. After everything is paid and submitted, USCIS lets you track your case status. Your case will appear under Case Status. If you click on the Documents tab, a copy of your receipt notice can be found under USCIS Notices. You may also upload any additional information that was not explicitly requested from you before. You are now done. Congratulations. Okay, we have a link to that video on our website. So if you want to go back and rewatch it, you can. It's very helpful. So those are just tips, but hopefully that was a little bit helpful. I do want to say that we're probably going to go over an hour. And if you need to leave, feel free. It will not offend me if you leave. And I'll go through the STEM extension really, really quick so we can get to questions. All right, so after you submit your online application, you need to wait for USCIS to approve your request. Usually takes about 3 months. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's longer. But you need to be prepared for it to take about 3 months. You cannot legally work until the request is approved and you have your EAD card in hand. So you might get an email that says it's been approved. Great. You cannot start work until you have that EAD card. If you work before it, that is illegal. You're out of status. That could affect future visa applications. So wait until you have the EAD card. You can check your online account for updates. And if you don't have a job offer yet, this also would be the time that you'd want to apply for jobs. So I already mentioned, use the Career Center, use InnerStride. LinkedIn is another really good resource for searching for jobs and making connections. All right, so USCIS, the last step, will approve your request. Most everyone gets approved. We very rarely see denials. You may get some sort of email that says, hey, your request was approved. Like I said, you cannot work until you get the EAD card in the mail. So you only get this EAD card by mail. So it's important when you apply to use an address that you have access to. It usually takes about a week or two for them to mail you the actual card. The EAD card will reflect the OPT start and end time. So it will say 1 year. These are the only days you are allowed to work. You cannot work before the EAD card starts, and you cannot work after it ends, unless you apply for the extension. You will also get an email about the SEVP portal login, and this is where you will report your employment and any changes to your address or phone number and things like that. So, like I said earlier, OPT becomes a little bit more responsibility on you. This is one of the things that you do on your own, is log into the SEVP portal and update your account. Once you physically have the card, you can begin employment. So your job really shouldn't let you work without seeing it. It's like your form of ID at this point. They need to scan it, they need to hire you using it, they need to have it on file. So if any job is letting you work before you have that card, that's not good. That might not be an employer that you want to work for. So once you have the EAD card, you can start working. You need to work about at least 20 hours a week to be considered full-time, which is what OPT must be. And if you don't have a job yet, you have 90 days to find one. The 90 days of unemployment starts when your EAD card actually starts. And be sure to choose a job that relates to your field of study. So your degree listed on your I-20, you want to make sure you have a job that relates to that. I am not a job expert. I am not a major expert, like a degree. I'm not an expert on all the degrees here at USC. So that's, again, your responsibility to explain to the government how the job relates to your degree. That's something you could work with the Career Center with. They were talking about, you can think a little bit differently about your degree and jobs that you could have. So work with your academic advisors in the Career Center to find a job that utilizes your degree. This is what the EAD card looks like. As you can see in that red box, I have circled the EAD start and end date. So this student was authorized to work from June 5th, 2017 to June 4th, 2018. They cannot start working before June 5th, 2017, and they must stop working after the 4th. This is only time they are allowed to work. And you can see this EAD says post-completion OPT. It's got the work authorization category and all that on there. So this is what you will receive in the mail. Just because
I have a question.
we will do questions at the end. I want to make sure I get through everything for the people that are here. So we're gonna skip this break. Some rules and regulations that go with OPT is you need to apply inside the US. So you need to be here to apply for it. You have to be enrolled for 1 year. We've talked about some of these already. About how if you have 1 year of full-time CPT, you can't use OPT. You can get OPT more than once if you get a higher degree. I've highlighted in yellow because this tends to be a question I get a lot. Your unemployment starts when your EAD card starts. If at any time you switch jobs while you're on OPT, that's fine. You can have more than one job. You can switch jobs. If you take a week off between them, you'll get a little bit of unemployment, but that's okay because you have those 90 days. But you do have to work 20 hours a week. So it's full time. You have to work at least 20 hours. The nice thing about OPT is it's actually pretty flexible what kind of job you get. You can volunteer. It doesn't have to be paid. It can be contract work. It can be an unpaid internship. You actually can do self-employment. However, you need to have a business license. There's a little bit more to it than that. But all of those types of jobs are okay for post-completion OPT. In a little bit, we'll talk about the STEM extension. That's not true for the extension, but for regular OPT, you have a lot of flexibility in the type of jobs you can accept. We'll get to more on the STEM extension, but not everyone is going to qualify for that. And a difference with the STEM extension is you do have to have a diploma and paid employment. So we'll talk about that later, but for those of you that are just doing regular post-completion OPT, you have some flexibility. All right, I will go through the STEM extension very quickly. If you qualify for this and this is something you're interested in, I would recommend going to our website, scanning that QR code, and reading about it in full. And hopefully I will get a video posted to that very soon. So the 24-month STEM extension is an extension of regular OPT. So like that video said, you apply for it after you've already done a year of OPT, and it gives you an additional 24 months of work authorization. So you apply, you can start applying 90 days before your OPT expires, and you can work while the authorization is pending. And you simply just get another OPT I-20. You'll get the STEM OPT I-20. So you fill out the request form to our office. But the only people that qualify for this are people with STEM degrees, which I'll show you in just a second. And your employer has to be E-verified. So this has to be a legitimate place that you're working. It can't just be a startup company or something like that. STEM, you have to work 20 hours and it has to be paid. You do get some additional unemployment days, you get 90 more days of unemployment. So again, you can switch jobs and you've got that time that you can take in between. But you have to have a job when applying for it, because when you apply for the STEM extension, your employer fills out a training plan, which I have linked there, but I'm not going to go through it. It's on our website. So you have to have an employer when you apply for the STEM extension, because they have to complete that training plan for your application. For the STEM extension, the most important thing is SIP codes. So if you click on that link, it will take you to this USCIS list of SIP codes. And a lot of people will say, oh, I have my I-20 lists a different degree than what I have, or than what I'm graduating with. One I can think of most clearly is the University of South Carolina has a degree called Operations and Supply Chain Management. But the SIP code for that is the same as management science. So that management science SIP code is what goes on your I-20, because SIP codes are universal. Degree program titles are not. What is called, management science at Clemson may be called something different here at the University of South Carolina, but they have the same universal SIP code. So if you look at your I-20, after your major, there is a 6-digit code. It's usually 2 numbers, period, and then 4 more numbers. This is your SIP code. This is the number you need to look at. Don't worry about your degree title. Look at this SIP code. And if you can find that same SIP code on the DHS STEM list, then your degree is STEM eligible and you can get the 24-month extension. All right, after your OPT ends, you have pretty much only 2 options. Your first, of course, you have to stop working. You can't work after your OPT ends, but and that end date will be on your I-20 and on your EAD card on the second page of your I-20. The reality is you have to leave the US. You still get a 60-day grace period to leave, even after your EAD card expires. But you need to make preparations to leave, or you can change your visa status. So if you are trying to apply for an H-1B visa or another visa type, you can most certainly do that. Our office doesn't advise on it. You would need to work with an immigration attorney, or you can come back to school and begin a different degree on F1 status. You don't necessarily have to come back to the University of South Carolina. You can go anywhere you want. But that's the only way you can remain on F1 status after your OPT expires, is by starting a new degree. When you travel with OPT, we have this on our website as well. So if you're going to travel, I would recommend checking this out on the website. But once your OPT is approved and you have that EAD card, you need to travel with it. We don't recommend students travel while it's pending. However, we know the reality is that it's summer and a lot of people are going home. So make sure you apply for OPT while you're still here in the United States. And then while you are traveling, always have that OPT I-20 with you and make sure it has a travel signature. We usually put a travel signature on it when we email it to you, but just double check and make sure you have that. And then if USCIS hasn't approved it, like you don't have the EAD card yet, but you've got the email saying they've approved it, print out that notice, carry that with you. If you have a job offer, we strongly recommend carrying that job offer letter with you if you're going to be exiting and entering the country. So just be aware when you're traveling, you have a few more documents that you need to take with you when you are an OPT. If you are on the STEM extension, there's a lot of reporting you have to do, but there's also reporting that you have to do when you're on regular OPT. and these requirements are your responsibility. So you will get access to the SEVP portal, and you have to report any changes to your address, name, or job within 10 days. When you're on the STEM extension, you also need to update the SEVP portal. Again, you can find all of this information on our website, and we have forms in our library for how to update that. You will also get an email telling you, reminding you to do your reporting if you're on the STEM extension, which if you scan this QR code, it will take you to our reporting form that we use to report it for you. All right, last thing is some frequently asked questions, and then I'll get to your guys' questions. So a lot of students want to know what happens if I don't find a job after 90 days and I'm unemployed for more than 90 days. Technically your record will be terminated and you need to leave. We won't check your account and see, because sometimes students forget to just report their employment. So they'll say 100 days of unemployment, but they've had a job the whole time. So we aren't necessarily terminating immediately, but we will, if you try to exit and enter the country, that's going to be problematic if they see that you haven't reported a job and you have a lot of unemployment. So if you don't find a job, you do need to leave, and you need to update us of that. Can I start work before the date on my EAD card? No, you can only work during those days. And like I was saying earlier, your job needs to report you to the government. They are reporting you on taxes. So if they're willing to let you work before your EAD card, that's kind of shady and not great. So make sure you are waiting to start work. If you find a volunteer job, do you need to report it? Yes, all work needs to be reported on OPT. Can I travel while on OPT? Of course. It's perfectly fine once everything is approved, but like I was saying earlier, it can be a little risky while pending. We don't usually see any issues with it as long as you carry all of your documents with you. Can I mark self-employed to avoid going over my unemployment allotment? No, that is not fair. You should only mark self-employed if you have a business license and are truly actively self-employed. This is something that you'll have to prove to USCIS. And if you're self-employed, you have to think about US taxes on your own. So especially if you plan to apply for an H-1B visa, or maybe you get married and end up applying for a green card, USCIS will go back and look at things like your OPT employment. And if you dishonestly marked that you were self-employed, that's going to be problematic. How can I avoid delays on my application? There is a tip sheet that DHS provides. I will send the link in the chat. But the ultimate answer is just make sure your information is accurate. How much does premium processing cost? So there is something called premium processing where you can pay extra and they will expedite your application. This cost is wrong because it has since been updated. And I actually think the original fee has been updated too. So I'll type them in the box. The regular fee, I think, is like $470 now. And premium processing is $1,670, I think. And you have to fill out an extra application. So premium processing is very expensive, but it does shorten your time period. We've talked about this already. Students always want to know what start date to choose. Ultimately, you have to decide that for yourself. But a later start date gives you more time to find a job. An earlier start date allows you to begin an employment earlier. If you don't know, choose something in the middle. Choose something like June 1st. Can you work without your diploma? Technically, yes. If for whatever reason you fail one class and you don't get your diploma and you have to take one class in the summer, it's okay, you can still work. Provided it's okay with your employer, but from an immigration standpoint, it's fine. You actually only need to have your diploma when you apply for the STEM extension because they want to see that you got that STEM degree. If your mailing address changes while you're submitting after you submit the application, it is possible to update it. However, this is something that could cause a delay. So just try and keep the address on file if possible. And if you've moved or, you know, your friend's still living there, work with them to get your EAD card. If you have any questions about Form I-765, go to our website and watch that video. We pretty much walk you through the process. All right. I'm gonna go through the questions in the chat first. And then if anyone has any questions that they want to ask, they can. And if you want to go, you're more than welcome to go. Thank you for sticking around. I know we went a little bit over time. So some questions from the chat. If I had a job offer before I graduate, would be able to start working before my EAD card arrives? No, you cannot. You have to wait until your EAD card arrives. So this is something that you'll want to work with your employer on, is talk to your employer when you're applying for jobs, let them know your OPT start date. And say, this is the earliest I can start. Realistically, that shouldn't affect whether they hire you or not. That's a very normal thing in American culture to negotiate your start date. So don't be worried about letting them know, hey, I can't legally start work until this day. If our visa is expired since we extended our program. So the physical visa in your passport can expire and you are allowed to stay in the US lawfully because of your I-20. Your I-20 is the document that can expire. That physical visa in your passport can expire, and that's okay because that visa is just your entry ticket. If you're going to leave the US and come back, that needs to be updated. But that being expired will have no impact on your OPT application. If I apply for OPT and have dependents, do they also get approval? Your F2 dependents will not get work authorization, but their time here will be extended. They can stay with you while you are working OPT, but they do not get the work authorization. I already went over the premium processing for OPT. Again, keep in mind the price has increased since I've made this. It's over $1,600. Is it possible to send EAD address to another country? No, it is not. Your EAD card must be sent to a US address because, as stated, one of the stipulations is that you are applying from within the US. So you don't necessarily have to put your address on the application. If you have a friend that's living in the US and they will let you use their address to send the EAD card, or a family member, you can do that. That's okay. But they will not send the EAD card to another country. Can we use premium for OPT and STEM? No, because there's no need to use premium processing for STEM. It doesn't exist. Premium processing for STEM doesn't exist because you can work while the application is pending. So there's no need to expedite it and have it go quicker because you can work while it's waiting. So you only need to do premium processing for OPT if you want that expedited.